Hi, welcome back. I'm Brendan here again with the Michael J. Owen Music Education Fund for playing the clarinet. The clarinet was invented around 1700 by a German guy named Mr. Denner, and he modeled it after an older ancient instrument called the chalumeau that you find in ancient Egyptian, Middle Eastern, many other cultures actually around the world played instruments like the chalumeau. And the name, it was called the clarinet in 1700 because people thought it sounded like a clarion trumpet from afar. And back in those days, the word clarion or clarinet meant little trumpet. So the clarinet is kind of like a little trumpet. Today, we're going to learn our first song, which is called Hot Cross Buns, a famous old English folk song. So how this song goes is the first, most of the song we actually already know how to play because you simply start on E and you go to D and then you hold C for a long time. So it's going to be like... So you do that twice. The song starts out with you doing that set of notes twice. So I'm going to do it again. Now, the next part of the song requires you to use the tip of your tongue to touch the tip of the reed. Notice how I'm being very gentle. I know I said don't touch the thin part, but this is the one exception just so I can show you where you want to hit it with your tongue. You want your tongue to hit right on the edge of the reed, not like hitting it really hard, just kind of lightly, like you're skipping a stone across a lake. And just the amount that the stone touches the water is about what you want your tongue to touch the reed, because it's mostly, again, tight tummy, pushing the air really fast through the instrument. Using your tongue, you're going to start actually on C, on the lowest note, and you're going to go ta, 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 just like this. You notice how there's a difference in that sound between... In that one, I was kind of huffing, huh, huh, huh. And there are times when you want to play like that, but for now, you want to keep your lips tight the entire time. Don't be... You don't want to be taking out the mouthpiece every time. You want to keep your lips firmly in place and try to not move them. Keep them as still as possible. So the only thing really moving in my mouth there is just my tongue going do, 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 do. So now, going back to the song, here's how the song goes from that part. You're going to go C, 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 D, 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 D. So that's 4 C's and 4 D's, all with your tongue. So... So that's that middle part of the song. And now we're at the last part of the song, which is just like the beginning, which was E, D, C. Extra challenge for those of you who are following along pretty well and feeling like you're pretty good, you should try using your tongue for all of the notes in this song, not just the 4 C's and the 4 D's. So now I'm going to play through the whole Hot Cross Buns for you, and feel free to play along with me practicing, and I'm going to use my tongue on all of them, but for now, just focus on making sure your tongue is hitting those low C's and those low D's. So from the beginning, 1, 2, ready, play. So that's the whole song. That's how you play Hot Cross Buns. I'll do it one more time just so we have good practice going over it. You'll notice that the lengths of my notes are pretty long. We'll get more into the exact specifics in another video of how long you're holding each note. But just so you know, the first 3 notes, really the first 6 notes of the song, are all pretty long. So just try to follow along with my timing and think in your head as you're playing. It goes Hot Cross Buns. So 1, 2, ready, play. Again. Alright, that's how you play Hot Cross Buns. You'll notice I was bobbing around a lot. Don't do that yourself. At home, you should try to stay still. I was just moving along to show you the rhythm of the song. All songs have beats or seconds that go with them, and I want you to be starting to feel that beat and that rhythm as you go along. One other quick thing I just want to go over is how we clean the clarinet and properly put it away. So, first thing we do, just like how the first thing we did when we opened up the instrument and started soaking on the reed, the first thing we're going to do is take off the reed because it is the most delicate part of the instrument. So, notice how I'm unscrewing the screws on the mouthpiece and raising it up just enough so that I can push the reed up from the thick bottom part, and I'm holding it in between here. And I'm just going to go ahead and slide it back in its plastic case. Hopefully you've got a plastic case like this one. It might not look exactly the same, but that's where your reed should be resting. So you're going to push it in like this. Again, it's going to look a little different for you. Some of them you push them in from the bottom going up. If that's the case, if you're pushing in from the bottom going up, that's fine, but just don't push the reed too far. If you push it all the way slamming up against the edge of the plastic, it's going to break the tip of the reed. So I prefer these ones where you're sliding in from the side because it's harder to damage the reed that way. But it's not a problem if you have one of those sliding up ones. Just be very gentle and don't push the reed in any more than you have to. If it's tight enough to where you can go like this and it won't fall out, then you don't need to push it in anymore. So, reed is put away, putting that back in your case. Now, we're going to go over how you clean out the clarinet. Hopefully, in your clarinet case, you should have one of these cloths that has a string with a weight on the end of it. This is called a swab. Mine looks very old and ragged at this point because I've used it for many years. Swabs are how we clean the spit and other weird stuff that gets in the clarinet. And the way that you want to do it is from the weight. You see how I'm holding the string with the weight hanging down. You're going to drop the weight into that hole where it comes out of the clarinet. And you notice how I do it from the bottom going towards the mouthpiece. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. This is just the way that I prefer to do it. And don't pull really fast, yanking it through, because it can actually, the swab can catch on the inside and tear. And that has happened to me before. So I would encourage you to not let that happen to you. So notice how slowly I'm pulling it through. And the reason is because you want it to catch as much gunk or condensation or whatever. Let's face the facts. When we play in the clarinet, sometimes spit gets in the instrument just like any other instrument. I know it's gross, but this is how we deal with it. You got to clean it. So you see how I ran all the way through and pulled it out very slowly and gently so it catches as much of the drops of spit as it can. Now that you've run it through once, you can start taking the pieces apart. So I've taken the mouthpiece, the one that has the screws on it, off, and I'm going to go ahead and set it back in my case just like so. I've got a little mouthpiece cap for it. That's where my mouthpiece sits. Then you're going to take the barrel off the piece and do the same thing, setting that away, and then the same thing with the top half. Now, we did not play with the bottom half of the instrument, but I'm just going to show you, just so you know how to clean the whole thing, you do the same thing with the bottom half. So I put the weight into the big open bell part going upside down, and I'm just going to pull it very slowly through the instrument, just like I did with the other one. There you go. And again, holding from the safe spots when you unscrew, the racing stripes bottom half part is clean and your bell is clean. When you're finished, I like to wrap up the swab, fold it up a couple times, just loop the string around so it's nice and bunched up and small. I actually like to stick it inside my bell because it's kind of a safe place for it to keep, and that way it picks up any leftover stuff that might have got caught inside the bell. All right, and so at the end, you'll see that I've got all my pieces of my clarinet in my case with the metal keys pointing upward. You know, you don't want that. That's not going to close safely. It's going to cause damage to the clarinet. So make sure everything is pointed upward. I've got my reeds and stuff right here in these pockets. My swab is tied up and stuffed in the bell of the clarinet, and go ahead and carefully close it, latch the instrument. Another day of successful clarinet practice done. Good job, you're well on your way to becoming a master clarinet player. So in the next videos, we're gonna go over some more songs and some new notes, and we'll also talk about how long you're holding the notes so we create some rhythm and movement in our music. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video.